Here we are outside the lovely facade of St Pölten Hauptbahnhof on a cold, slightly snowy morning in January. Now, whilst this facade dates from the 19th century, the whole station was extensively remodelled in 2010, so inside the feel is very modern. I'm early for my train, so there's time for a wander around and maybe a bit of train spotting. St Pölten sits on the main Westbahn line that runs between Vienna and Salzburg, and it also has an extensive S-Bahn local train system of its own. And of course there's also plenty of freight on this rail corridor too. Well, it is a busy, or fairly busy, Thursday morning here in St Pölten in Austria, and freight trains are going through, various passenger train movements, local S-Bahn services, and of course an ice just leaving off towards Dortmund. But over at one end of the station, quietly sitting waiting for the 0837 departure, there's a 760mm gauge train waiting to depart to Mariazell on the handily titled Mariazellerbahn. And you know what? I think I'm going to catch it. The weather today, very grey, the snow's falling, and there's a lot of cloud cover, so for a scenic railway I really should pick a different day. But of course you don't have a lot of choice with these sort of things sometimes. Today is when I plan to be here, and today is when I'm here, so let's hop on the Mariazellerbahn and see how it goes. Back in the concourse, the Mariazellerbahn has its own escalator to its 3 platforms, which are just sited at the end of platform 1. Well, if this train really is mine and it's just sitting here waiting to go, then it's still got another half an hour before it will be leaving. And I've just popped into the shop, so I've got something for breakfast, so maybe I'll find a little warm spot a bit further down and eat that breakfast, and then it should get close to time where this little Stadler unit is going to be bursting into life and we can hop on board. It certainly looks very nice inside, and I know they say that they have panoramic coaches on this route in the summer and at various holiday times. These windows are huge. Look, here am I. Anyway, time to get some breakfast and then jump on the 837. Incidentally, I checked on the website and it said, oh, you can buy tickets in advance, but you can also just buy them from the train conductor. So I'll be doing that. Now, they are quite expensive, and I suspect if you're local that you might get a lot of discount on these prices, but actually as a tourist I'm quite happy to pay extra. It's all part of the fun and keeping railways at this running, isn't it? So whilst I eat a breakfast roll, let's have a look at the map of this remarkable line. For context, here we are in St Pölten, which is to the west of Vienna. Our route will take us roughly south into the mountains to the town of Mariazell, which is situated in the North Styrian Alps. The first half of the journey takes us along what is known as the Valley Line, as we follow the River Pilack through population centres as far as Schwarzenbach. Then the line picks up the River Nattersbach to Laubenbach-Merl, which is where the railway has its main depot and workshops. Beyond Laubenbach-Merl, we enter the section known as the Mountain Line, and things get very wiggly as we climb a double horseshoe curve, eventually reaching the summit of the line as we pass through the Gersing Tunnel. Then we will follow the valley of the River Erlauf across viaducts and bridges until we eventually roll into Mariazell station. Today's journey is just 84 kilometres or 52 miles long. However, it will take 2 hours and 17 minutes, making it one of the slowest trains I've been on for some time. But really, who cares about that? Here's our actual train on its working in from Laubenbach-Merl. The trains on the line are made up of Stadler 3-car EMUs that entered service between 2012 and 2014 as part of the modernisation of the line. It's nice to see low floor entry, and then up here at the front there's luggage space and some fairly comfortable seats. Back at the lower level there's some bins, an accessible seating area with toilet. And as it goes up a mountain there's places to put your skis too. There's also a QR code for the railway line's audio guide. Now, I think that's a great idea, but sadly for me, it seemed to be only in German. As you'd expect, you get a little bin under the table and also a European power supply. All in all, a very nice little train. We're away on time, and I am riding the second train to Mariazell of the day. There's roughly a 2-hourly service on the whole of the line, with additional trains just running along the valley section. Just before Alpenbahnhof, the train passes the old railway depot, which predates the current one we'll see later. Now, as we get going along the valley, I really should give you a bit of history of this line. In the 19th century, the pilgrimage centre of Mariazell was one of Austria-Hungary's most visited places. And in 1858, the Westbahn had opened through to St Pölten between Vienna and Linz. There was therefore a long-held desire to make a connection through to Mariazell. However, it was not until 1895 that work started on a narrow-gauge line. As we'll see, the terrain was very difficult, so using 760mm gauge was to be much more deliverable. The first stretch of the line from St Pölten to Kirchberg was opened in 1898, running with steam locomotive traction. There was also a branch section from Obergrafendorf to Mank, which has since closed. By 1905, the railway got to the end of the valley at Laubenbach-Merl, and the Mank branch had also extended to Ruprechtstoffen. Finally, by 1906, freight traffic was making it all the way to Mariazell, and in May 1907 a full passenger service was inaugurated. And so the Mariazellerbahn, or as it was then known, the Lower Austrian Styrian Alp Railway, was in full operation. However, the work did not end there. As the steam traction struggled to deliver the service, there was an early decision made to electrify the line. This work commenced in 1907 and was completed in 1911, making use of the local hydroelectric power stations along the route. This meant the line was very much a proving ground for subsequent mainline electrification throughout Austria. In modern times, the railway was operated by ÖBB. However, by 1998 there was now no freight services on the line at all. The passenger services on the branch line between Mank and Ruprechtstoffen was ended in 2003, and the section from Obergrafendorf to Mank itself was completely closed in 2010. So in the early 21st century, it was considered that only the valley section would be retained by ÖBB, but in 2010 the whole line was transferred to the provincial government of Lower Austria, and they enacted a €117 million investment in new rolling stock and line improvements for the whole route. And that's how come I'm now riding on one of the Stadler units that became part of the upgrading of the whole line. And that's also why my Interrail pass has not been accepted and I have to buy a ticket. As we run along the valley floor, we'll recross the river a few times. Even so, as railways go, I'd say we haven't yet reached a challenging landscape. Here we can see a lovely mural of one of the older electric locomotives that used to work the line. And we continue to climb with many stops on the way. Here we are at Kirchberg, which was the terminus of that original section of the line. And to complement the extra snow around, a passenger has just boarded and is using the ski rack. Once again, it's time to pass an oncoming train. On this valley section of the line at least, I'm quite impressed with the service frequency. Incidentally, the current brand in the line is Die Himmelstreppe, which means Stairway to Heaven. Hence, that's why we have a little golden Stairway logo on the trains. Now this is becoming far more alpine, and that valley ahead looks to be narrowing. After Schwarzenbach, the train passes through the Skernau tunnel and crosses the Pielach one last time before picking up the Nattersbach. I think it might be a bit cold for a swim in the pool at Frankenfels. And incidentally, whilst the train is definitely quiet, there's still a reasonable number of passengers, and now quite a lot of ski equipment too. Our Stadler EMU is making light work of the gradients, and it's very comfortable and quiet too. Mind you, I can definitely feel that the motors are labouring just a bit more now we are getting into the mountains. The station at Boding has a rather nice snowman. Blink and you'll miss it, so here it is again.
On the right.
Now we're swinging into Laubenbachmühl. The old station building, though, is beautifully preserved, but we're going to trundle past to stop at the new platforms. This new station is integrated with the depot and the workshops. It's quite a nice setup. Oh, and there's definitely more snow clearing going on around here. Welcome to the mountain section of the line. We've also had a full crew change, so I've shown my ticket to the new smiling train manager. Up the riverside we go on our way to the first switchback turn. Our onward railway line is just behind those houses. But first we have to complete our 180-degree turn right across the valley floor. Soon we're looking down to where we were less than a minute ago, but there's a lot more climbing to be done, and it soon becomes very clear why it took 2 more years to build this extension to Mariazell. And oh boy, this is breathtaking. There's a passing loop at Oberbuchberg, so we wait patiently for an oncoming service. I wouldn't like to stop here in a blizzard. The train manager has sat in front of me and she gives the oncoming driver a cheery wave. Well, we're away again, but there's still a lot more looping to be done before we can reach the summit. The Meilberg tunnel is part of yet another 180-degree turn, and then another snowy vista opens out to us. Just below Winterbach station we get our first clear view of Laubenbachmühl station in the valley below. Then there's one more 180-degree turn before we finally arrive at Winterbach itself. Once again leaving Winterbach, we get a glimpse below at where we've come from, and then we plunge into the trees and over some more beautiful viaducts. As we get close to the summit, there's a couple of short tunnels before we drop into the longest tunnel on the line, the Gersing Tunnel. And this tunnel also marks the high point of the line at just over 891 metres above sea level. And when we burst out of the tunnel to the station, the temperature difference causes the exterior of the train to steam up. However, the windows eventually clear to reveal stunning views across the valley of the Erlauf. No wonder it says that when the railway opened it was so popular that they never needed to do any advertising in order to fill these trains. Beyond Annaberg, the train crosses the bridge over the end of the Stausee. There's a lot of ice and snow on the lake today. At the end of the lake, we pull into Wienerbruck Josefsberg station. Once past the station, the line has to loop around over the Saubach River and up the southern edge of the lake. And then there's more picture postcard valleys to gaze down upon. You know, I think the line has saved the best until last. Well, almost last. Finally, we see a few houses and buildings as we approach Mitterbach. Mitterbach is our last stop, and soon the buildings of the tramway come into view, and then the swept platforms of Mariazell station. That was a wonderful ride, and I hope you enjoyed it too. Here we are at the splendid terminal station. So let's hear what Johnny has to say about the ride. Well, despite the low cloud, that was a magical train ride. 2 hours of absolute joy. The second half, the mountain half, when we came out of the valley and then swung up round through the mountain, oh, absolutely to die for. So I hope you enjoyed that. I certainly did. I'm now going to go for a walk down to the town, so I'll probably close with some shots of the town, because it's about a kilometre's walk on. The station actually stops here a little bit short of the main town, so that's what I'm going to do. It's also a delightful little station here, isn't it? So I'm just going to check the timetable, but basically it's now 11:05 in the morning, and I'm going to get the 1:05, so perfect time to go and see if they sell beer in this town. I bet they do. They've done a lovely job inside the old station building. There's souvenirs and also changing rooms where I suppose you can change out of your wet ski kit. I'm going to take a walk along the pathway down to the town. As we've come all this way, I suppose we should have a look and, see what we can see. Yeah, incidentally, these standard gauge tracks that are running just around the valley are in fact part of a tramway museum. I'm picturing something a bit like Seaton Tramway in Devon. This might be a good time to talk about why they built the railway. Well, it was mostly to bring pilgrims to Mariazell, or at least to the Mariazell Basilica. And why is that? Well, it contains, so I'm told, an image of the Virgin Mary carved onto lime wood that is reputed to work miracles. So, if you fancy a miracle, then this might be the place for you to come. Could be useful if you're a New York Jets fan. Ordinarily, I'd leave it at that. And if you've had enough of the video, that's fine too. However, it's just that the sun has come out, so I thought, as I'm going to jump on this 1:05 train, I should keep the camera rolling. So, given the sun is out now, you can choose to join me for the quick run back to St Pölten in very different weather. I won't prattle on anymore, let's just enjoy the ride down. Oh, and in response to 1 or 2 comments I've had, I won't add any music, let's just listen to the sounds of the railway.
Rechts. Request stop.
So as we arrive back in St Pölten, I'd just like to say thank you so much for watching. I know this has been a longer video than normal, so thanks very much for getting to the end. I really appreciate it.